So market reading, normally we note down the initial lows and the highs around 3:30 GMT and try to compare it to that of the market and see where exactly they are taking the market. Now in the case of Euro, 1.0966 was the initial low. They came down to 1.0961 and started gaining the level. A brief downward stop for about 5 pips. And the high is 1.0991 and they are not breached it. In the case of GBP, 21.2076 is the low and 22.15 is the high. They are not breached the low at the whole. So only in the case of Euro, they made a brief downward stop and started gaining the level above that of the initial low in less than 30 minutes. And in the case of yen, 104.44 is the low, 104.94 is the high. They are not breached the low at the high. In the case of Swiss franc, 98.71 is the low, 98.86 was the high. And they just breached the high, went up to 98.89 by 2 pips or 3 pips, and then started coming down. So they just made a brief upward stop and started coming down. And if you look into that of Euro and CHF, they are showing negative net change in order to push Euro CHF cross on the downside. Then in the case of Canadian dollar, 1.3401 is the low, 1.3424 is the high. They are not breached the low at the high. And Australian dollar, 75.84 is the low and 76.03 is the high. They just breached the high and went up to 76.14 and still holding above that of 76.03, indicating they wanted to gain the levels. And in the case of Canadian dollar, they are simply holding around that of 1.34 and briefly they could make an upward stop into 1.3434 or 45 level and then start making the slide. They consolidate and make a brief upward stop and started coming down. During that upward stop, if we take a sell, we'll be able to easily keep stop at entry and book profit during the downward move. In the case of Swiss franc, they are expected to make a brief downward move some more, and later on they are expected to just come back. So they will widen that spread on the downside as well as on the upside, just to consolidate. And in the case of yen, they are expected, they set the high and they are expected to breach the low where they are holding closer to the high, not breach the new high, not breach the initial high for more than 30 minutes, indicate that they wanted to come down, holding high, pretend as if they are going to rise, and slowly they will just make it to fall. And in the case of GBP, they are not breached the low and the high. They are consolidating slowly. They are expected to gain the levels. In the case of Euro also, they are done a brief downward stop and they are expected to gain the levels. As the forecasts say, there is a small dip during the early Japanese session, followed by the gaining moves during the day today and tomorrow. And Wednesday onwards, they are expected to make the drop for Thursday and Friday and then start gaining during